In this video, we're going to go over how to combine functions. And so you're given your rules right here. And these are kind of common sense. F plus g of x equals f of x plus g of x. F minus g of x equals f of x minus g of x. F times g of x equals f of x times g of x. And f divided by g of x equals f of x divided by g of x. And then again, from that domain, we have to make sure that g of x does not equal 0 because we cannot divide by 0. So in this example, it says for the given functions f of g, find the following and state the domain of each result. So f plus g of x, this is the same as f of x plus g of x. My f of x is 4x plus 5 plus g of x, which is 3x minus 1. From here, we just need to combine our like terms. So 4x plus 3x gives me 7x. And 5 minus 1 gives me plus 4. B, we have f minus g of x, which means f of x minus g of x. Now this one is slightly different because of this minus sign, so be careful. My f of x is 4x plus 5 minus, I need to subtract my whole g of x. So I'm going to put in g of x, but I have to put this in with parentheses. The reason that is important is because we need to distribute that negative, and you can think of that negative as a -1 if that helps, but we have to distribute that to both terms. So I'm going to bring down my 4x plus 5, but now negative times 3x is negative 3x. Negative times a -1 is a positive 1. So now when I combined, 4x minus 3x gives me x. That's this right here. And then 5 plus 1 gives me a plus 6. F g of x is the same as f of x times g of x. F of x is 4x plus 5. And g of x is 3x minus 1. We have two binomials, and when we multiply two binomials, we are going to FOIL, which is first 4x times 3x gives me 12x squared. My outer 4x times -1 is a -4x. My inner 5 times 3x gives me 15x. And then my last 5x times -1 is -5. So what we used there was a shorthand of FOIL. Your first terms times your outer terms times your inner terms times your last terms. But really, you can see from this diagram here, I'm just distributing this 4x to both terms, and I'm distributing this 5 then to both terms. If you distribute the first term and then the second term, or if you just use FOIL, these middle terms usually are like terms. So we'll have 12x squared, -4x plus 15x gives me a positive 11x, and then bring down your -5. Now, in the instructions, it told me to find the following, and we have found the following. We have added our functions, we have subtracted our functions, and we have multiplied our functions. But I'm also supposed to state the domain of each result. And I kept this to right here because these all have the same domain. let me get it's right here. From a previous video, here is my 2 rules to find mathematical domain. We cannot divide by 0, and I cannot take the square root of a negative number. Because all 3 of these have no fraction, I don't need to worry about dividing by 0. And because none of them have a square root, I don't need to worry about taking the square root of a negative number. So if my 2 rules have no chance of being violated, then my domain is all real numbers. Or negative infinity to infinity. D, we have f divided by g of x, which is the same as f of x divided by g of x. My f of x is still 4x plus 5, and my g of x is 3x minus 1. I cannot simplify this at all. So that is my result when I divide. We do need to find the domain though. This time I do have to make sure that this bottom portion, 3x minus 1, does not equal 0. I don't have any radicals, so I don't have to worry about taking the square root of a negative number. But I do have to make sure I don't divide by 0 here. So we will add 1, which gives me 3x equals 1, and then divide by 3 to give me x cannot equal 1/3. I don't know how you need to write this. If it is set notation, this is the set of all x such that x cannot equal 1/3. If it is interval notation, this is negative infinity to 1/3 with a union of 1/3 to infinity. And if you have already watched the previous videos for this lesson, you will know that these 2 answers mean the same thing. They're just wrote in 2 different forms. The next example we're going to be finding or combining these functions, but now instead of given the function, instead of them telling us what f of x equal or what g of x equals, I'm given a graph. You can see here that f of x is my red function and g of x is my blue function. So on A, we have f plus g of 3. This is the same as f of 3 plus g of 3. In the previous video, we have gone over function notation. If you don't know how to use function notation, you need to watch the previous video. When they tell me f of 3, this is telling me my x coordinate is 3. So I need to look along my red function. When x is 3, my y coordinate is 4. So f of 3 is 4. Plus, now I'm going to look along my g function. When x is 3 on my g function right here, my y coordinate is negative 1. So 4 plus negative 1 equals 3. B, we have f of 5 plus g of 5. F of 5, when x is 5, my y coordinate is 2. Plus g of 5, when my x coordinate on my g function is 5, my y coordinate is -5. This equals -3. Now we have f of 7 minus g of 7. When my x coordinate is 7 on my f of x, my y is 0. And then g of 7, when my x is 7, my y coordinate is -1. This is the same as 0 plus 1, and so this equals 1. These two are the same thing, but the order is backwards. So now we have g of 7 minus f of 7. G of 7 was -1. F of 7 was 0. And so we have -1 minus 0, which is -1. The order on subtraction matters. Now we have f of 3 times g of 3. F of 3 is 4 times g of 3, which is -1. This is -4. And then this is the same as f of 5 divided by g of 5. F of 5 is 2. And g of 5 is -5. That can't be simplified. So there is my answer. Now this is not part of your notes, but I do want to show you something. And it's kind of combining example 3 here with example 4. Okay, and this will help you on your homework. And I'm only going to do one example of this. But let's say we have a function f of x and it equals 2x plus 3. And then I have a function g of x and it equals 5x minus 4. If they ask me to find f plus g of x, I can find this 2 ways. The first way is I can't, oh, sorry. If they tell me they want to find f plus g of 3, not of x, but of 3, we can find this 2 ways. The first way is I can go ahead and kind of break this up and say this is f of 3 plus g of 3. So to find f of 3, remember this is what my x equals. So I'm going to plug in 3 to where I see an x here. So this is 2 times 3 plus 3. So my f of 3 equals 6 plus 3, which equals 9. So f of 3 equals 9. And then I have to do the same thing for g of 3. I would have to do g of 3 equals, and then plug in a 3 everywhere I see an x. So 5 times 3 minus 4. This gives me 15 minus 4. So g of 3 equals 11. And so I would do plus 11. And so my final answer here would be 20. The other way that I can do this is to figure out what f plus g actually equals first. So add these two together. So we would do 2x plus 3 plus 5x minus 4. Combine your like terms. 2x plus 5x is 7x. 3 minus 4 is -1. And now I can plug in a 3 where I see here. So this would be 7 times 3 minus 1. This is 21 minus 1, which equals 20. It does not matter what you do first, as long as you are following your rules correctly. So when they tell you f plus g of 3, you either need to figure out what is f of 3, what is g of 3, and then add them together. Or go ahead and add your two functions together to get 1, and then plug in your number. Okay, either way, you get the same answer. So it's just a matter of preference. Which one do you like?